Everyone hears the voice of God. I know that can be a highly controversial statement. If you'll give me a few minutes, I will explain it. I do have a degree in art therapy and worked as a mental health counselor previously. So I want you to know that I have a bit of a background in order to make such a claim and have an explanation for it that is indeed legitimate. If I ask you, just for today, to recognize every time you are having a conversation within yourself, would you be willing to do that? Most of us don't realize that we are having ongoing conversations, sorting out our lives, looking for solutions, while still living our life on the outside and going about whatever it is we need to do day by day. We are so accustomed to having these internal conversations while carrying on the rest of life that we basically don't recognize that we have an entire form of communication within that is readily available, has great resources, and is also where the voice of God resides within you and me. Some of you may not believe that there is a God or any kind of higher power. Nevertheless, you still have a small, still voice that is guiding you. A simple way to take the controversy out of the statement that we all hear the voice of God is to remember when you and I were little. Do you remember when you were little and you were trying to solve a problem? There was something you needed to know. Maybe it was how to walk home from school that day and you couldn't remember what street to go down to get to your house. Maybe you were playing outside in the summer and although you didn't have a watch on, you just knew that it was time, your curfew had ended, and you needed to get back home. As a child, you most likely would not have relegated that guiding voice as the voice of God within you. You would just follow it, that right inclination, knowing what to do in certain circumstances. It was just natural, the way that you lived. There was no questioning of it. You had internal guidance and you followed it. Do you also remember when you were little in grade school and you just knew what was right and what was wrong? You didn't overtly consider the rightness or wrongness of any behavior. You just had a feeling within. If you were about to do something and it was risky or dangerous or something your parents didn't want you to do, you had a very uncomfortable feeling that would arise within, and you just knew not to head in that direction. As most of the great spiritual, religious, and psychological teachings agree upon, the first 7 years of a person's life is when they formulate so many ideas that are the foundation for how they are going to live out the rest of their lives. Why is it then, my sweet friend, that we can remember having internal guidance when we were little and being willing to follow it without questioning it, yet somehow here we are as adults convinced to the greater extent and most of the time that we are just alone in this world trying to figure out what to do and that we don't have any guidance? Either A, that voice and guidance has just disappeared as we've gotten older, or B, there's so much noise and activity internally and externally as we are adults that we just don't notice the voice and the guidance, and therefore we think it does not exist. The great aspect of being little is we simply don't have so much to consider. We don't have the complications of living an adult life, and because we are free and open, we easily hear and are guided by the small, still voice without intellectually challenging its validity. So where does that leave you and me at this point in our lives? How can we regain the confidence and assurance that indeed that small still voice is still guiding us through our feelings, through our inclinations, that we aren't alone, and that great wisdom and knowledge is within each one of us. And that today, even right now, you and I can make a choice to hone in on that guidance, to apply it toward our lives, to realize we are not alone, and that the same loving presence that was always there to help us when we were little is still alive and present within each one of us. Maybe, like me, you had a very traumatic childhood. Maybe there was abuse, neglect, and just confusion when you were growing up. But, my sweet friend, what other adults do, including our parents and caretakers, does not negate that we still had and do have that small still voice guiding us. Even when we were little, in terrible circumstances, we knew that something was wrong. We knew to want for something different and better, and we took that into our adult lives and decided to do something different than our parents and predecessors. Again, this is where the small, still voice was always there for us. And I assure you, I'm even willing to promise you, that if you would take a little time to realize that you are still being guided, you'll find great comfort in realizing truly you never are alone. I'm not here to try to convince you whether or not there is a God or higher power. I am here solely for the purpose, my sweet friend, of reminding you of how magical and miraculous you are, because I believe most of you have forgotten that. Remember how powerful you truly are. You, my sweet friend, are truly loved. If Swanky Genius encouragements helped your heart, we'd be ever so grateful if you liked, commented, subscribed, shared our podcast, and check out our book, journal, and coloring book series featuring Lamp the cat and Swanky Genius the bird, who are whimsical best pals at swankygenius.com.